Hello again, crochet friends. Welcome to Crazy Cool Crochet. This is Sylvia, and today I'm bringing you this really fun and interesting crochet poncho, crochet wrap, crochet shawl. Depending on how you wear it, it can become whatever type of wearable you like. This is a very, very easy crochet project that will be great for crochet beginners. Experienced crocheters will really enjoy this unusual stitch. So I encourage you all to give it a try. Now for the materials, I used a number 3 yarn. This one happens to be Sugar Wheel Cotton Sparkle. The color is Just Relax, which is various shades of blues. We'll need scissors. You may or may not need the yarn needle, depending on which version of this project you want to do. And the crochet hook is an E or a 3.5 millimeter. Before we get started with the actual tutorial, and as you can see, I'll just be working from a small swatch. This will fit a size small to medium, and to make larger sizes, it's very, very easy. We are using a multiple of 10 plus 2. So to make this longer, you would just add more chains to the foundation chain in multiples of 10. If you want to make it wider, then you would just simply add more rows. Now when I tell you how many chains to crochet for the foundation chain, do not walk away. Okay, it's going to sound ridiculously long, but as you can see, we're skipping 10 as we're working along. Skip 10, work 10, skip 10, work 10. So you're not working in every stitch. You're going to be skipping quite a lot of stitches. To get started, we're going to do, for size small medium, 312 chains. Now we're going to work half double crochets. And we're going to start in the third chain from the hook. So we're going to skip the first 2. And be careful because that first one usually scrunches up. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Do not count the loop on the hook. Okay, so half double crochet, yarn over, insert the hook, 3 loops on the hook, pull through all 3. Half double crochet. Now work 9 more for a total of 10. Half double in each chain. Now you will work 10 chains. Now we're going to skip 10 chains. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and work a half double into the next chain. And now 9 more half doubles. Now, chain of 10. Now you've got your 10 chains remaining. And don't panic. If you used a different number for your foundation chain, if you wanted to make it wider or longer, you would have used a different number than I'm using here. So you might end up with a row of worked half double crochets. That might be the end of your row right there, rather than here with the chains. Hang on, I'm going to show you that scenario in a little bit here. Okay, so you did your chain of 10. Now you're going to work a half double in the last chain. Now chain 2 and turn. Now you'll work 10 half double crochets around that long chain there. Okay, now as you're working your 10 half double crochets around the large spaces, you will notice that they might scooch up on you. They might be too close together. Just spread them out a little bit, just a little bit, just to make it a little neater. Okay, so now after you've done your 10 half double crochets, chain 10. And then skip right over to the next large opening. And again, work 10 half double crochets around the chain. After you do your 10 half double crochets, do your chain of 10. And then at the end of your row, we're going to work a half double into the space between that turning chain and that last half double crochet. So half double into the space. Then chain 2. Then turn and work your 10 half double crochets around that long chain. Chain 10, come over to the next large space, work your 10, chain 10, and then work your half double crochet at the end of the row between the turning chain and that last half double crochet. Now, if your first row ends with the 10 worked half double crochets, which will happen or can happen depending on, again, the number of chains you worked for your foundation chain. Okay, so if you end with the worked half doubles, then you will chain 10. And turn. Now we're going to work into that big space, working around that chain for your 10 half doubles. Now work your chain of 10. Now you're going to work a half double crochet in that space between the turning chain and the half double crochet. So a half double crochet. Now chain 2, turn. Now you'll work your 10 half double crochets around the chain, chain 10, come back over to the next chain or the next large space, work your 10 half double crochets around the chain. So for the second scenario, for row 3, you would have ended with your 10 worked half double crochets, chain 10, you will turn, skip over to the next large space, work your half doubles, chain 10, and then work your half double between the turning chain and the last half double below here. And then just continue in the pattern. So now just keep in mind that what I did was show you 2 separate scenarios depending on how you ended your first row. Again, depending on how many stitches or how many chains you worked for your foundation row. Okay, here is the completed crochet mega mesh poncho. Now for those of you who prefer to use this as a shawl or a wrap, you can just be done with it when you've got the size that you want. For the small medium, I worked for 28 rows total. and that looks very short. It's only 13 inches wide, so this will be like from the neck down to the hem. However, do keep in mind that this will stretch a lot. This particular yarn, even though it's cotton, it still stretches a lot. So once you put it on and it hangs on the body, it will stretch another 5 inches. That's quite a lot. So this will be plenty wide enough or long enough. For larger sizes, or if you just plain old want more coverage along your back, you can just keep adding rows. Just keep working along. Every 4 rows will give you 2 more inches. Just keep that in mind. So for those of you who would like to wear it as I designed it, as more of a poncho, let's go ahead and seam it. To seam the shoulder, you're just going to fold the panel in half. And we will be seaming at the top for about 11 inches, and you are going to have a nice wide neck opening. And that's the only seam we're going to do, just at the top. We're going to leave the side open and of course the bottom open. So for this particular stitch, it doesn't matter what is the right side and the wrong side. They essentially look the same. Okay, I have added a stitch marker where I want the seam to end, and it's just a scrap piece of yarn, contrasting color. There's my neck opening. Okay, so starting at the corner, insert your yarn needle with that length of yarn. Enter into 2 stitches of each panel at the cornermost stitch. And I like to use knots just to secure it a little bit more. And I'm going to use a simple whip stitch. So that just means that you're going to go around and around and around. So there's the 2 stitches on each panel. And that's it. That's all you're doing all the way until you get to your stitch marker. Now when you get to the chains, it might be a little bit trickier getting into those 2 strands, but it'll work. When you get to your neck opening, just take your yarn needle and run it through a few single strands. We're just trying to weave in that tail. Now, different people have different ways of weaving in their tails. As I have said, I prefer knots. So now what I do is I insert the hook again into just 1 strand and work it through for 2 or 3 chains, and then just squeeze that down. And then you can cut that right close to the knot. We are done with the seam. Right over there. We've still got this open, and if you look at the photos at the beginning, you can see how this is meant to be worn. So that will hang down along your arm, and this will just be on the shoulder a little bit right there. So again, if you prefer, you can just leave it as is and you can be done. I prefer to add a little bit more interest with the fringe. I know a lot of people don't like fringe, but I think that really adds a beautiful finishing touch. And we don't have to do a lot. It's going to be spaced out so that it's not very thick at all. To make the fringe, determine the length that you want. This is about 10 inches long. And just take your yarn and wind it around a book or anything that will give you that 10-inch length. And then you will cut at the bottom. We'll be working with 2 strands of yarn for each tassel. And we're going to work around the side edges. There's the opening. Remember, your neck opening is over here. Here's your shoulder. So we're working around here and then along the bottom, all the way around. Now lay your poncho open so that you can work easier. Here again is the shoulder and then down the arm. And we're going to start in the corner. So take your strands, 2 strands, fold them in half. Now in the very corner, insert your hook, grab the 2 strands of yarn, bring it through, give yourself a nice wide loop, and then bring all the strands through that loop. Pull through, and now just gently tug up, and that creates a little knot. So let's enter a tassel into each of these half double crochet rows. That will leave it fairly well spaced apart. Okay, a little change in plan here. So rather than enter a tassel into each half double crochet row, I went with every other. Once it was all said and done and I put it on, the tassels gathered together in such a way that it just looked thicker than I intended. So, apologies for the confusion, but let's do every other. And then for the longer, or the back, I entered the tassels at the beginning and the end of each of these half double crochet sets. Okay, so the beginning and the end. Right here, right here. Right there and right there. And that spaced them out nice and wide. You don't want it too thick because you've got this whole open weave going on, and you don't want to lose the balance of the entire design. So here is our completed project, my crochet mega mesh poncho. I do hope that you enjoyed this project, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up down below. Leave a comment. I love hearing from you guys. And we will see you on the next project. Thank you.